Secrets behind Saudi Arabia and Russia's earth-shaking oil move revealed. Saudi Arabia is preparing something incredible? It would seem that the relationship between the US and the Arabian Kingdom is unshakable. As the years went by, things slowly changed. Despite long-standing cooperation and the continued presence of U.S. military forces in the region, U.S. foreign policy has repeatedly stumped diplomats on both sides. And apparently, the time has come and Saudi Arabia has decided to take a strong step away from its ally interests. The Arabian Kingdom is preparing to conclude an agreement with Russia. They have a long history of cooperation, especially in the military-industrial complex. But this time, the countries known as the leaders in oil production decided to shake up the black gold market and impose their will on the world. And that's why the global energy market is about to get shaken up. Russia and Saudi Arabia have teamed up to form a powerhouse oil strategy that is set to rock the world. This new alliance between the largest oil producers is sending shockwaves throughout the industry, and it's bad news for the United States. But how did this incredible partnership come about? Well, it's all thanks to improvised relations between the two countries, and they recently took things to the next level with a meeting between OPEC Plus, Russia, and Saudi Arabia on February 1st. Get ready, we're about to dive deep into all the juicy details. Be sure to save up some time and watch till the end. And don't forget to subscribe, it's important. So, straight back to business. Everything started when Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia and Russian President Vladimir Putin recently had a little chit-chat, and it was a huge game changer. They discussed ways for the OPEC Plus group of countries to work together to keep the oil market stable. And just a few days later, the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, JMMM, which is made up of OPEC Plus ministers, met online to discuss this new collaboration. And we've got some news from OPEC Plus delegates who claim that the JMMC group is expected to suggest keeping the same oil output guideline. So this is it. Yes, Russia and Saudi Arabia are setting up a new partnership, and it will certainly shake up the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this video, and let's proceed. We are not done yet. How did it happen? Last year, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC Plus, and its allies set oil production targets that created a breach between the US and Saudi Arabia. And now, the Saudi foreign minister stands his ground, announcing that their decision to sustain stable oil prices was the right one. Despite this stability, there are still concerns about the impact of recent Western sanctions on Russia's oil industry due to the ongoing conflict against Ukraine, and price caps on Russian products which were introduced in December of last year. However, the Crown Prince and Russian President Putin are looking for the best ways to cooperate in the political, trade, economic, and energy fields. So what does the future hold for the oil industry? All eyes were on the OPEC Plus panel, which was expected to recommend keeping the current output policy unchanged. While the Joint Ministerial Monitoring Committee, JMMM, discussed the economic lookout and the level of Chinese demand, inside sources suggest they are unlikely to suggest any changes to the current policy. Why do you ask? Because of the recent backlash in oil prices in 2023 and the uncertainty related to sanctions on Russia and its capacity to produce oil. As Ole Hansen, head of the commodity strategy at Saxo Bank, notes, the group wants to keep something that's working well and wait to see how things unfold amidst the unpredictable nature of the market. And here comes the dramatic turn. Furthermore, the Joint Technical Committee meeting, scheduled for January 31st, has been put on pause. Despite this cancellation of the Joint Technical Committee meeting and the uncertainty surrounding the global economy, OPEC Plus is keeping its cool and maintaining its production levels. This decision was made in order to balance the market during these times of economic confusion. But don't be fooled. There are still plenty of uncertainties that could shake up the oil market. Inflation, interest rates, and Chinese demand are just a few factors that could impact the stability of oil prices. And let's not forget about the recent conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which has led to sanctions on Russia's oil industry and left many wondering about the impact on global supply. Even more. In fact, this is the only thing that has made the economy wobble at an unprecedented rate. The world after the pandemic had no time to return to its former rhythm. An economic crisis was already looming somewhere in the distance. And here, a full-scale war and the remaking of absolutely everything. Don't forget, because of the war, not only trade routes have been disrupted, but also business arrangements. And in general, it is impossible to do business with Russia now, at least officially. But we will talk about that in another video. You have to adapt, suffer losses, and look for alternatives. And while you're doing that, you're losing money. The situation is not a pleasant one. What about the Russian side? On the other hand, Russia is trying hard to show that everything is fine. There are no problems, and in fact, the country's situation and the economy are even better now than before the war. After all, sanctions and international restrictions only stimulate growth. We do not need anyone. We will do everything ourselves. But the reality is that everything is diametrically opposite, and every month it will be harder and harder to create the appearance that everything is fine. Despite all of this, the Russian Deputy Prime Minister is confident that the oil market is stable. However, the recent fluctuations in oil prices have caused OPEC Plus to take a cautious approach, opting to maintain the status quo for now. But industry leaders predict that prices will increase later this year, so we'll have to wait and see what happens next. So while the world of oil production may seem uncertain, OPEC Plus is taking proactive steps to maintain stability and balance in the market. And with the promise of potential price increases in the future, the oil industry is sure to keep us in suspense. China's perspective. China's emergence from COVID-19 lockdowns has brought a surge in domestic travel, but the overall economy is still recovering from the pandemic. Meanwhile, OPEC is closely monitoring the impact of sanctions on Russia, which could lead to decreased oil output in the face of an expanding European Union ban on imports of Russian crude and refined fuels. Despite this uncertainty, oil shipments have remained surprisingly resilient, prompting OPEC leaders to exercise caution in their decisions. OPEC President Gabriel Mbaga Obiang Lima stressed the importance of careful consideration before making any decisions. OPEC's Secretary General Haitham Al-Ghais is also cautiously optimistic about the global economy, citing the recent improvement in oil demand in China. While China's rebound is seen as a positive sign, Al-Ghais remains careful and wants to be optimistic in a careful manner, especially in light of continued signs of weakness in other fields. As the world's largest oil exporter, Saudi Arabia is considering a fourth consecutive monthly cut in petroleum prices to Asia due to low physical oil premiums and concerns about oversupply, despite predictions of a demand recovery in China. Overall, OPEC leaders are navigating a delicate balance between cautious optimism and careful decision-making amid ongoing uncertainty in the global oil market. With this in mind, Saudi Arabia is considering reducing the prices of crude oil sold to Asia for the fourth consecutive month in March. Aramco, the state oil company, is expected to cut the official selling price of Arab light crude oil by about 30 cents for cargoes loaded in March for Asian clients. The expected cuts for heavier grades like Arab medium and Arab heavy are larger as refining margins for fuel have weakened. As we mentioned before, China is the top oil importer. They are expected to see a revival in the fuel demand after lifting COVID-19 lockdowns. However, the supply overhang is still causing trouble in the Asian market. China and India continue to buy discounted Russian barrels and are not going to stop. The European Union's ban on Russian oil product imports, which started on February 5th, will likely lead to more crude oil exports from Russia. OPEC Plus is expected to maintain the current oil production policy of reducing production by 2 million barrels per day due to concerns about a global recession. The expected cut in prices for Saudi crude oil bound for Asia is based on customer recommendations and the change in value of its oil over the past month. The Saudi crude prices affect approximately 9 million barrels of crude oil bound for Asia. Saudi Aramco officials do not comment on the kingdom's monthly official selling prices as a matter of policy. So what does this mean for all of us? Prices will fluctuate, that's for sure. Saudi Arabia, as always, is mostly interested in doing things its own way, with maximum benefit to itself. That's why they see nothing wrong with doing business with Putin's regime, canceled in the Western world. And what's more, they don't consider themselves as part of the Western world. They are building their own world with green energy, technology, and all that good stuff. And this requires a lot of money and resources. So it's nothing personal, it's just business. Thank you very much if you watched to the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. What do you think of this movement in Saudi Arabia? And will it help Russia stay afloat? They are really in a bad way, and the further they go, it gets worse. By the way, we promise if you subscribe, we'll make a video about it. See you. Peace.